like the reason I started talking about the ego and stuff is because I feel like there's some, like, I don't understand, what the problem is.
You're the one that started talking about ego, not me.
I know. So because that's the best I could come up with.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
it was just...
I mean, your people reached out and they were like, hey, do you want to come on Dr. K? And I was like, oh, putting all my mental issues out into the world. And I was like, no, like, I don't want to, do that.
No, that's
so
fair.
They're like, so I was like, the only thing that I'd really care to talk about on stream would be, like sharing it was just kind of sharing an experience and discussing it with you, but it wasn't necessarily seeking help for anything regarding those things.
I get that, and that's totally fine. It's just, I figured, like, at this point in the conversation, having talked to you for a while, I sort of went down the ego road just to, because, like I said, I don't think you've got a problem with it. It was just because I think it's like you're a really good example of someone who has confidence and ego. Mm-hmm. And the way that you talk about it makes perfect sense. Like, I think very few people understand when you say adept the best is ego, that's not me. Like, that makes perfect sense. Right? So you're someone who's really understood that, like, there's a difference between the self and the ego. And the ego is like a program that, like, you turn on your computer and then it does particular things and then you can, like, turn it off. It also makes perfect sense to me that, like, the ego, you make a really strong argument for the ego being like a necessary part of Twitch, which frankly, it's a necessary part of life. So, like, if you really have no ego, like, you suck at the game of life because you won't advocate for a promotion. You won't advocate for, all kinds of things to, like, advance your worldly life. I do think that a lot of the real place to grow, I think, for you is just that to recognize, like, if I could give you one bit of information, we don't have to get more into it, but just this ahead and behind thing, just so you understand, it's part of ego. So that if you really want to be free from sort of like the shackles of ahead and behind, ego dissolution techniques or further restraining the ego is going to be like how you free yourself from that. But you figured out most of it on your own. Like, that ego is comparison and things like that.
For me, my worry would be, how do I live without ahead and behind? Like, how do I stay focused? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
That would be my worry when it comes to losing this thing.
So this is where your worry is good, because in a sense, like, there's actually, like, some evidence to suggest that if you lost ahead and behind, you would fail. Mm-hmm. You just wouldn't care because it's all...
Yeah, like, I could easily just sit in the couch, lay in bed all day and just eat garbage and not do anything, not go to work, not stream, not do, like, shit all day. I could easily do that.
But it's not quite the same. So, like, can I tell you a quick story?
Yes.
So this is one of my favorite stories about Buddha. So Buddha, Buddha was a prince, and like, what happened, so Buddha's story kind of starts out, so he's like a prince, and he's, like, loved and respected and all this good stuff. And when he was born, there was an astrologer that came and told his dad, the king, he said, okay, your son is either going to be one of the best kings that the world has ever seen, or he's going to be one of the best, like, monks or priests or, holy men that the world has ever seen. And so his king is like, his dad is like, well, fuck that. I don't want him to be like some holy man. Like, I want him to be like a king because he's my son. That's his job. What he does is he tries to protect his son from, like, all the things, like, all the negativity in the world. So he sort of, doesn't expose Buddha to anyone who's sick, anyone who's old, or anyone who's dead. And one day, Buddha sneaks out of the palace, and he kind of he's, like, walking around, and then he sees, like, someone who's, like, old, and then he's kind of like, he's with his bodyguard, and so he's like, what's up with that guy? That guy's, like, his face is all funny looking, and his hair is a different color. And then his bodyguard is like, oh, that dude's old. And Buddha's like, what does that mean, old? What does that word mean? And they're like, oh, like, this is what happens to people as they, like, and so explain. And then Buddha's like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bug, not a feature. And then he kind of goes on, he sees someone who's sick, and he's like, what the hell is wrong with that guy? He's, like, making this weird like, there's stuff coming out of his nose, and, like, he's making this weird noise, and then they're like, oh, he's sick. And it's like, Buddha's like, what's that? right? And then he sees someone who's dead. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? That guy's not even moving. And he smells bad. And then his bodyguard's like, oh, that dude's dead. And Buddha's like, what is that? And so then Buddha goes back and he's like, oh shit, I didn't realize. And then he's like, really has this crisis. And he's like, I don't know what is going on here. And he's unhappy. So he decides that he's going to leave. And then his dad's like, fuck. And the very thing that he tried to prevent, he ended up sort of creating. And then Buddha travels around for a long time. And he kind of abandons this like worldly life because he's like, this doesn't make any sense. And he goes and he seeks for enlightenment. He becomes enlightened. And then many years, and then what he does is he travels around India like a poor person. So he's like, sitting on his couch all day. He just kind of wanders around. He has no possessions or anything like that. He like teaches, people ask him for help. He like helps when he can, but he's kind of just chilling, right? He's just vibing. And then one day he goes back to his old capital city because he's just making it around India, and he's walking down the street, and who he sees is his ex-wife and his son. And then, they lock eyes, and the ex-wife is like, fuck you. How dare you? You abandoned me, and you abandoned your son. And she's like, I can handle that you abandoned me. I've gotten over it. I'm a strong woman, much like yourself, Adept. And she says, I can handle it for myself, but like you really let your son down, and it's a father's responsibility to take care of their son. Because he had sort of failed his duties as a consequence of his enlightenment, so you're totally right that like that's what happens. And so then Buddha says, you know what, you're right, that it's like even as an enlightened person, like I still have duties. And that you're correct, that I abandoned you. Even though I don't have ambition, I still have duties. And so he says to his wife, he's like, I'm going to fix that right now. So you say that it's a father's responsibility to give their son the best of what they have and like pass along their inheritance. And so let me fix that right now. Like, his son's like 13 or 14 at the time. So he's like, why don't you let him help me? And he pulls up his begging bowl and he's like, I'll give him my inheritance. This is what he has. And I'll teach him how to be a broke monk. And we'll travel together. And then his wife is like, fuck you, never.
Yeah.
You can take your begging bowl and go. So you're actually kind of right. That like, in a sense, it can be hard to lose your ego. Any thoughts about the story, by the way, or should I just keep going?
I would love if you kept going.
Okay.
I mean, the story, I understand. I get it. My only thought is like, well, yeah, but then, he didn't pay his bills either. He didn't do anything.
Absolutely. You're damn right. And that's what the story, your concern is spot on because that's what, Buddha literally, he didn't pay his bills. He's just like up and left. Like, no alimony, no child support. It turned out okay because his wife happened to be a queen. And
that
so
doesn't stress me out less is what it stresses me out more in a sense.
Yeah, because Adept, this is what I'm trying to tell you is that your instincts are not wrong. Your instincts are right, and that's your fucking problem. You figured all this shit out on your own.
Yeah.
Right? That ego is comparison, and ahead and behind is comparison, and absolutely. And so you should be worried. It turns out that there is a way, and that's to think a little bit. So let me ask you this. So your performance with these kids in their basketball league, right?
Yeah.
Was ego involved there at all?
Yeah, with the other coaches, because they, like, one of the coaches would do some very weird stuff. Like, he ended up getting, this is just like a local girls' city league, and he was getting, like, 4 girls from his travel ball team. And I was like, listen, dude, and I told him, I was like, I don't know why you're doing that, we're still gonna beat you. And we did beat him, and so I was like, okay, like, good luck, I guess. But, so yeah, ego came out there with the other coaches, but not with my girls.
Yeah, and so let me ask you something. Like, did you succeed or fail with your girls?
We succeeded. We won the championship, like, more than not. And when we didn't, we were in second place. So yeah. So,
but how did you attain that success without ego?
Well, it's their success. It may have been it was me teaching them and helping them and guiding them, but it was their success. It's not my success.
Yeah, so that's beautifully put, and that's the answer. Mm-hmm. Right? So like this is where when you do something out of service, you can still have success. It's good that you note that it's not your success. So people look at Healthy Game and they're like, okay, it's successful. I don't really think so. It's not my success. This is a big thing that no one understands. Right? It's like so this is where if ambition is of the ego, and if you're worried about not being able to pay your bills, if you lose your ambition and you lose your ego, the answer is like that's a valid concern, and you can still sort of be successful in a sense, which is just through something called like it's through service, right? So like when you set the goal as not being successful, but you're saying, hey, there are these girls, and I want to teach them confidence. I want to teach them that they have value. I want to show them that they can do anything that they put their mind to. When that is your compass, you will be able to pay your bills.
Yeah, that's good. I'm happy. I feel like I'm on the right path. It's just like a reassurance, like it's okay.
Yeah, and that's true. So you can let go. This is where it's scary, because thinking about ahead and behind is the playbook you've been using to become successful on Twitch, and it can be scary to let go of ahead and behind. But what I'm telling you is that ahead and behind causes psychological torture and may lead to success. And it is my belief that you can try to make the world a better place and let go of success, and you'll be successful anyway.
I feel like to an extent, my biggest successes and the moments I'm most proud of come from a place that knows that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I do talk to people a lot. I share a lot of insight. I share my struggles and how I overcame them. And those were my greatest successes. And that's what I try to focus more on. Like my ahead and behind comes from myself, not like, yes, other streamers sometimes, but I try to stifle that when I notice it happening, but mostly myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so I think, like I said, I think you figured most of the stuff out on your own. It's quite amazing.
Thank you.
You know, for what it's worth, if you ever wanted to learn formal spiritual practice, I think, actually, let me think about this. Yeah, I was going to say, I think you'd be good at it, but I'm not so sure. I know this sounds weird, but actually, I think that I don't know if you should learn from someone, is what I mean. I think you're doing a good job of learning from yourself. And if anything, it could be hard to learn from someone.
I've learned from everyone. I've learned from many, many sources that I could think of, like, at any given time. I know who taught me what and when. But with what you mentioned, I actually got a meditation singing bowl, I think they call it. I got it yesterday, and I used it, and it was really nice. It's one of my new favorite things. Up on the top right.
I think I just figured out what we're going to do. Do you want to learn some meditation today?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any like closing thoughts or questions? I mean, I feel like I loved hearing your story. I don't really have much else to say.
No, I'm happy to share it, and I feel I just, I think it's important to share all of our stories, and I think it's meaningful, and I hope that I didn't come on here with the guise of you thinking you're gonna help me. Yes, I'm always open to help, but I didn't mean to like mislead you. I told them what I wanted to talk about, so.
I don't feel misled. It's hard to be misled when you have no expectations.
Cool.
For what it's worth, Adept, you're partnered with Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you do have things that you want to talk about more privately, first of all, good for you for setting up an evaluation or like meeting a psychologist or therapist. Mm-hmm. That's a really good place to talk about things with. You don't have to talk about stuff on stream for sure. We just actually, so Twitch is actually sponsoring our creator coaching program. So I think 3 years ago, I think Twitch asked like their content creators, what can we do for you? And the two things that the creators, they said three things. One is that we need to figure out how to pay taxes. And so Twitch was like, okay. And then the second thing was, I think some people wanted some training in like stage presence or like more formal. You're smiling. Is this?
No, I love it. Taxes, it's a big meme in our household.
Okay.
Taxes, we never escape them.
And then the third thing that they asked for was mental health support. But it seems like it was hard for people to, Twitch sort of set up this thing where you guys you have discounts with like Talkspace or BetterHelp or something. And then they give you guys like access to certain apps and whatnot. But thankfully, they've decided to actually try to support their content creators. So you can sign up for that program. It's private.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So you can give that a shot if you want
For
to.
sure. I would love that.
And then so you can check that out. And it seems to be going pretty well. They sort of help a lot. So we deal with things like imposter syndrome and burnout and those kinds of things. You can always try that, but I think it's good that you're seeing a psychologist. I'd be really curious whether they end up diagnosing you with something or not.
I'll let you know if they do.
You don't have to, but I'm just saying it's.
No, I would love to share that with you.
I'm so curious about stories like yours where you're like gifted or failing. Like I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
I don't know if that's just that can really be explained by a diagnosis or if there's like more to it. And so, because I think there are a lot of people out there. I'm glad you shared that story because, my story is actually somewhat similar. I sort of lucked out in the sense that they actually had me skip a grade. So I actually didn't have to sit around and repeat stuff.
Right.
But then I had my own fair share of problems.
I think, to put it simply, and it's been said time and time again, public school is just not for every student. And no offense, but especially gifted students, it's just not. As much as we would love it to be, as much as it's a great thing because it's free and accessible for like literally everyone in America. I don't want to get into politics, but it is a great thing. I'm not going to say that it's not, but it's definitely not for every student. And
Yeah.
my meaning for sharing this story with you guys today is just any students out there, like, you're not a failure. You're going to be okay. Like, find your path, build yourself up, and just find the options. You can test out of high school, you can go to continuation school, you can go to GD, you can do all the above like I almost did. So that's my point with sharing my story today.
What I really love about that last sentence, Adept, is you can do all these things like I almost did. I think that is a sign of confidence.
Yeah.
Right? To say that,
Yeah.
I don't know if you still have, I'm detecting some emotional, maybe I struck a nerve there, but, I think it's really awesome to see you own what you can be proud of and also own what you don't have to be proud of and that you can actually be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so meditation, since you got a singing bowl.
I have to turn my camera off though if you want me to go get it.
Okay.
Okay, be right back. Well, did you not want me to get it? I thought you wanted me to go get mine.
Go get it.
Okay. Do I have to put
I just find myself being curious why you have to be like not wearing pants or something.
No, because I have a lot of groomers that will zoom in on my butt crack and it's very, like I have basketball shorts on, but they'll still find a way to sexually exploit me, and it's very so
Should I be worried about that?
probably no one's safe.
I'm gonna risk it. No, okay. What exactly is a coomer again?
Well, these are beyond coomers. Like, these people have no. They're just.
Dude, how the fuck do we get a beyond coomer to come on stream? Can we do that?
Oh my god! Just literally Google my name. I swear to God, it's crazy out here. You'll find them.
No, but I'm serious. I want to talk because I want to talk to these people and.
I think that's a great idea. No, I'm serious. I am serious too. I think that's a great idea because I would love to understand why they do what they do, because there are millions and millions of places where they can, look at women that are sexually, exploiting. I don't know. I'm not trying to be insensitive. This is just how, sexually displaying themselves all the time. It's a great thing. I love it. I look at it. So why do they need to put me on sexual display when I'm not sexually displaying myself? That's something whole other door you're opening here.
I love opening doors at the end of the interview. Literally, can you explain to me what a coomer is?
Okay, so Coomer is literally I don't know how to explain it in words other than just lingo.
See, this is why I'm confused, because like there are all these terms and I can sort of piece things together, but